The Barnes Firm. I'm Rich Barnes. Is your accident case worth more than insurance offered? Call the Barnes Firm now to find out. You might be
Thank you. Good evening. Let's call to order the Board of Library Trustees meeting of March 3rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. The city does not tolerate disruptive behavior in our meetings. Sunnyvale prides itself on the rich diversity of our residents. We are committed to creating a culture of belonging where members of our diverse community feel included, safe, and respected. This board meeting is considered a limited public forum, which means the board can regulate the time, place, and manner of speech. Speaker comments must be limited to the agenda item being considered by the board for consent calendar or public hearing items. Speaker comments during oral communications must be limited to matters within the board's authority, generally referred to as within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. If a speaker's comments are not related to an agenda item, the presiding officer will rule the speaker out of order. A speaker will not be ruled out of order because of a disagreement with the content of their speech. Location and online meeting details are available on the Board of Library Trustees agenda. Scan the on-screen QR code or click the language access and translation link on the meeting agenda to read and listen along in more than 50 different languages. Use the Show Captions button to view captions on Zoom. Comments on matters not on the agenda or presentation items must be submitted prior to the time I call the item for oral communications. Comments on agenda items must be submitted prior to the time I close the public hearing on the agenda item. Speakers are requested to keep their comments to the time period set for public comments for the agenda item, which will be strictly enforced. Guidelines are posted on the city's website and on the Board of Library Trustees meeting agenda. Please join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Recording officer, may we please have the roll call?
Yes. Chair Wing?
Here.
Vice Chair Jetaconda? Board Member Hugh?
Here.
Board Member Hod?
Here.
Board Member Liu?
Here.
We have 4 board members present.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 25-0358, Friends of the Sunnyvale Public Library. Is there a staff presentation?
There is a staff presentation. Hello, everybody. My name is Shaughnessy Dunkley. I am the supervising librarian for adult services. And more importantly for this, I am also the liaison to the Friends of the Library for the Sunnyvale Public Library. So I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit about them tonight. So it is an honor and a privilege because these folks are some unsung library heroes. You don't necessarily see them, but you see their work throughout the library, whether it's seeing the lobby in the bookstore, or the bookstore in the lobby, if you see them coming and helping out with donations, or you see the huge book sales, they are there and they help us immensely. I love this picture. So this is they formed 60 years ago on June 9th of 1965. And this is library trustee Mrs. Robert Johnson. And the city manager Thomas Sweeney, who's on her left, or on the far left, and the city librarian Colin Lucas. And this was the first money that they gave was for architectural and art books that came to the library. And one of the things that the Friends of the Library president, who is not here in this picture, said in the article that men are welcomed and needed in the organization. So it's nice to hear that this is an organization that welcomes everybody to come and help. So they, as you can see there, they haven't really changed their purpose from the very beginning. They continue to maintain an association of people interested in books and libraries, and then they help us out with all of the things that you see there. So this is our lobby book sale, and that's one of the Friends of the Library. Her name is Kathy, and she's showing off the lobby book sale, which is replenished multiple times a week to keep it looking great. There are many reasons that you could become a member of the Friends of the Library. One of the reasons, obviously, is you can feel good about supporting the library, but you can also get into the book sales early. And as I understand, that is a big perk. That's just what I've heard. They currently have 217 members, including over 100 life members. So those are folks that have paid their dues and they're friends for life, which is just delightful. There are 24 volunteers that work in the library on a regular basis. And then for their bi-monthly book sale, which happens obviously every other month, they have an additional 120 volunteers to help sort that out. And if you've been to their book sale, you'll know why. It's immense. The lobby crew, like Kathy here, they stock the ongoing book sale in the lobby. Here, if you're interested in what they do for us, their book sales, wow. The bi-monthly book sales garner about $30,000 per year. The lobby sales have almost hit $50,000 in the past year, which is amazing. There is another one coming up in March, and you can see the group of folks that is probably a slow day for the book sale. It's just an immense wonderful community event, as well as a big support for the library. So the Friends, as you can imagine, don't just sit on the money, they give it to us and for programs and the community, and they're wonderful. So they provide book copies of the books for our monthly book group, the Senior Center book group, and we just started a Spanish language book group that they've helped us with. They help us with crafting programs, lectures, and even things like bike repair workshops, which happens every month in the plaza, where people can come and get their bikes fixed and learn how to do it themselves as well. So they help fund all sorts of things. They also help fund the reading programs. SRP means summer reading program, and there's also a winter reading program. For the summer reading program in 2024, we had 3,352 participants. And for winter reading, which just finished up in January, we had 1,653 participants. So their support goes a long, long way. They also provide licenses for showing movie programs publicly at the library, as well as hardware, which includes a set of Chromebooks for library programs so people can learn how to code with the Chromebooks in the program room, which is really cool. And they also helped with parts of our very popular Library of Things. They were the ones who gave us the sewing machines at first. So they were the ones who really started that and kicked off that popular item. They also began the lending of hotspots. So they have really been on the forefront of making sure that our Library of Things grows and has interesting and popular items. They also help with little free libraries. So they'll assist with, if you want a little free library in your neighborhood, you can contact them and they will reimburse you up to, I believe, $500 to get your own little free library. Which is wonderful. And then finally, and this is something you're going to hear a little bit more about from Garrett, is they have pledged $500,000 for the Lakewood branch for furniture, fixtures, and equipment, plus additional funding to make the building a little bit more flexible. So there's going to be a moving partition to allow division of program rooms to get more events. They've just been immensely supportive. And so we know as the library continues to grow with Lakewood, we know that we have some friends that we can count on, and we are delighted to be able to say that. So that is my brief overview of the friends and what they've been doing for the last year. Are there any questions?
You, Shaughnessy, do any board members have any comments or questions for staff?
Yeah, just quick question, just, so the library sales, the book sales, it's all stuff that you've like weeded out of the collection, or is it donations that never made it into the collection, or?
That's a good question. They are usually donations that we've passed an eye over to see if they could be added to the collection or not. And if not, they go to the Friends of the Library. It does also have some items that have been deaccessioned from the collection as well.
So I'm just sort of wondering, because like people all ask me all the time, like, can we donate books to the library? And I'm like, I say yes, because I know that you do. But then, I mean, it is possible that a lot of the things that people donate are going to end up in the sale. I mean, they're still donating to the library because the money's going to the library in the
Right.
end, so.
Yeah, and that's
I
kind of
just like think people want to maybe know that when they
Yeah.
donate.
Yeah, the goal is we hope that we can use them in the collection, but if we cannot, they still benefit us by going to the book sales. And if they don't live on our shelves, hopefully they're living on somebody else's shelves. So that's our hope.
Thanks.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
One, we love the Friends. I know two former board members were active members of the Friends, so they're great. Could you go back to the slide about the $30,000 per year? Because I was just curious about that number. Because you said that that one. If they're bringing in $30,000 per year and we have 6 sales a year.
Mhm.
They're each sale is bringing in
About $5,000.
$5,000.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, that just seems lower than I would expect, given the crowds and given everything. So I just wanted to make
Mhm.
sure that was accurate.
It is. I think part of it also is they have a $5 bag sale on Sundays. So you can get a lot of books for $5 in a grocery bag.
And is it normal? Is it normal for them that lobby sales are more than the book sales, or is that a new?
This is brand new. We have a new lobby crew and things have been changed up a little bit with marketing and with little mini sales in the lobby. And so I think that's really shown how popular it is with the massive increase. Yeah.
Sorry, but didn't they also just make the lobby sale more? Because it used to be just what was on the wall, but now they've added those book carts as
We were
well, so
able to
there's
add in-
more stuff.
we were able to have them come in with book carts as well. So yeah, there's just more to choose from.
One thing, and I don't know if this is true anymore, and it could be lore that I remember from years ago. So I was just curious. I had originally thought when I first joined the board that the Friends also did this kind of unique thing where they had expert sorters who, when we had received unique books, could sell those on Amazon or like on different areas that there was a market.
That is one-
Do they still do
That is 100% correct. That's part of the 24 regular volunteers.
Okay.
They each have not unlike a library, they actually sort it out by subject. So they have different sorters for different subjects. And each of the subject has their own person and they know what should go onto Amazon, what should go to eBay, and what should go to the sale and what should go to the lobby. So yes, they've a lot of hard-won wisdom with those folks.
Again, just not expecting to know, but I would be really curious just because I think it's interesting how much, like, how much do they make off of that? Or do we do it because it's a better use of, we don't want to lose these valuable books and you'd rather have them go to somebody who can appreciate them? Or is it, do we do it because it brings in a lot of money? Do we do it because we want interesting books to go to the right people?
The book sales or the sorting
The
things?
Amazon.
The Amazon.
Because that seems
It's-
very labor intensive.
It is labor intensive, but it's to make sure it goes to the right person.
Okay.
To the right person and for the right cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, these are just things I think of when I think about the Friends. So if I think about the Friends as an organization, one, is it a standalone nonprofit? Are they a 501c3?
That's correct.
Okay. Do they have, like, when you talk to them, do they have goals in terms of where they want to be in 5 years? Do they want more members? Are they looking to build that number of 24 active members? Where do they see themselves?
That is a good question, and I would hesitate very much to put something on their goals. But I do know that they're always looking to build up the folks that volunteer with them and to ensure that there's a lot of enthusiasm for the library in the community as well. So I don't know that there's necessarily a number goal per se, but there is just the goal of continuing to make sure that the library is well-known and respected throughout the community and to get more people to assist them with sorting or that sort of thing.
And then, sorry, one last question, and this is just again, a random thought that popped in my mind is, do they ever coordinate with other friends from other friends of other libraries? I mean, and it's an odd question, but we as a library coordinate with other libraries, and it seems like there would be some synergy.
It is not an odd question, and the answer is absolutely yes. I think everybody in this arena loves to share and loves to help other people. So there are some friends who are multiple friends with multiple libraries.
Very friendly.
and they love libraries all over. So yes,
Okay.
they look for best practices between other friends groups and things like that.
Okay, great. Any note?
Thanks for the wonderful presentation. It's one of the things that I've always wondered about. I guess just to double click on the flow of donations. Donors donate to the public library allocates books to friends of the library, or can the public donate directly to friends of the library, or is it generally not accepted?
Generally it goes through us. That if I want to be very careful about not saying anything in terms, there's an MOU involved. So what I understand is the donations go to the library. The library has first choice to see if it works. And then if it doesn't work out for us, then it gets passed through to the friends.
Got it.
But I mean, if people wanted to donate other items, maybe not items, but funds, they could probably donate directly to the friends.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
It does, thank
Okay.
you. And then another question about the free little libraries?
Little free library?
Little free
Yeah.
libraries. I always drive past one. I think there's one near like the old San Francisco Road Hospital Center there. And I've always wondered about that as well. And it's great to see the Friends of the Library help sponsor those libraries. Outside of those sponsorship, is there any continued engagement, or has continued engagement been explored either from the library directly or from the Friends of the Library to continue to engage with those the free libraries?
That's a wonderful question, and it's something that we've been thinking about. I don't believe any movement has been made on it yet,
Yep.
but I know that is something that we've had conversations about just
Yeah.
internally within the library
Yeah.
of how we might be able to assist that. So
Got it.
we are thinking, and thank
Yeah.
you.
It's one of those things where I was like, I wonder if the public library is involved in it. And I think visibility for the library or Friends of the Library is very top of mind for me, and just opportunities to increase the visibility is always a plus.
Thank you.
Sorry, that made me think of something else. We're never idea of a little free libraries. Like literally my walking route in the neighborhood is dictated by which little library I'm gonna go by. And I have different routes for different days because I want to check them all out. But one idea, I was just thinking, just because of what you said, even if the friends or for coordination with the library, there was a map of where are all the little free libraries.
If you go to littlefreelibraries.org, you should be able to see a map of all the little free libraries in the United
But I
States.
want Sunnyvale.
Oh,
And
okay,
I
we can,
want,
I will do what I
I
can.
want Sunnyvale, and I wanted to encourage not just like our Sunnyvale, like to promote the Friends. Like, hey, look, the Friends are working and they had a big part of this, but also like it encourages people to walk around. And like I've gotten into so many conversations with people as we fight over books at the Little Free Library.
Mhm.
So I think it's just like again, a fun neighborhood kind of almost an Earth Day thing. We're reusing, we're sharing,
It's a
creating
great community builder
Yeah.
in so many ways. It's just lovely to see your neighbors and
and fight
just
with
share.
them over
Yeah.
the books that I.
Or fight, share.
Sorry, that's great. Anything else? Great. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Shauna.
you
It's a
very
good point.
much.
Okay, so then we'll move on to our next item, which is 25-0359. Lakewood Branch Library and Learning Center update. Is there a staff presentation?
Yes, there is. Excuse me while I get situated here. So good evening, everyone. I'm Garrett Kermoda, the Superintendent of Libraries, and I'm really excited to share some of the recent progress that we've made toward. And we'll just run through a little presentation for you here. Just to provide a couple notes of historical context for this project and how we arrived here. The city has for many, many years had an interest in service and library service in North Sunnyvale. But you know, there's been numerous challenges to how to actually deliver that. Different attempts made over decades and decades of history. But back in 2017, the council formally directed staff to engage in conversations with the Sunnyvale School District, Sunnyvale Elementary School District, and the Fremont Union High School District on exploring the possibility and feasibility of a partnership to place a branch library on the school property at Lakewood Elementary School and Lakewood Park. That you can see here on this very, very early diagram and map. The proposed library location you see highlighted there has changed slightly in footprint, but that does provide the general gist of the area that we're talking about. It took a few years, but eventually the feasibility study and agreement was formalized with the school districts. And so we now have a three organization partnership between the city, the Sunnyvale School District, and the Fremont Union High School District. From that point on, a period of community engagement went into sort of early design plans that were then finalized and approved by the council in late 2020. After several years, including some of those COVID years in between, the design was completed and permitting began. One additional piece of interesting complexity with this project was because of the nature of building a building on school property, it engaged a number of additional review processes that occur when you in the state of California when you're building on school properties, and so that was kind of a new thing for us to work through, but it did require some additional coordination and planning. But in 2023, we did finalize those plans. So that gets us to last year in 2024, and we hit a number of very exciting milestones in that project. Early in the year, we went out for bidding and awarded the construction contract to Bowo Construction Incorporated. So they're the lead contractors for construction of the project. We also engaged and finalized the public art design and artist selection. I'll show in a few slides down the line here about the exterior and interior public art that we're planning for the building. We also held our groundbreaking ceremony in September. Many of you were there, and I'll talk about that later in this presentation as well. And that, of course, kind of kicked off the actual construction on the ground there at the site. Sort of internally, we also have been working on preparation for some of the pieces that are going to go into the library. For example, we finalized our opening day collection contracts with several vendors on where we're going to obtain our books and movies, music, and all of those materials for the branch, so that we open with a really beautiful, sparkling, and fun and popular collection. Just to talk briefly about the concept design. Lakewood Branch Library is envisioned to be a 20,000 square foot facility. And it's really strategically designed to match both traditional library services, but also a strong recognition of the need for spaces for collaboration, learning, community building. So the point where actually about half of the public space of the building is going to be devoted to those traditional library collection spaces. And then about half of it is going to be reserved for meeting rooms, community spaces, and things like that, which I'll walk you through on the next floor plan. As far as the site is concerned, the building itself, as you can see here in this drawing, sits just to the east of Lakewood School. So kind of that white area in that top corner there is Lakewood School, the school itself. And then the branch will sit just to the east and then kind of south of in Lakewood Park on Lake Chime Drive. The main entrance and parking lot you see there are on Lake Chime Drive. So let's talk a little bit about the floor plan and what we're going to have in the library. It's been a while since we've, maybe talked about some of these things, but I think it'll be really interesting. Now, this is the traditional view that we show in diagrams with the top to the north. However, for the purposes of this presentation, I actually wanted to flip it around a little bit because I think from when I'm thinking about the library and how I'm visualizing people using it and entering it, I like this view because it's sort of, you're going to enter from the south in that forecourt area. And I know this is behind you, so I'll be minimal in the amount of pointing, but this is the entry forecourt and the main library entrance right here. So let's walk through a little bit and envision. As you walk into the main entrance of the library, what you're going to be faced with is a large, welcoming space, high ceilings, very open. And that leads us into, straight ahead of you will be what we call the marketplace. The marketplace is going to be collections and displays that are very primarily popular items, our new books, newest materials, really, really attractive pieces of the collection right there up front for you to see and welcome you in. Immediately to the left as you enter will be the service desks. That'll be it'll be staffed, while the building is open, with smiling library staff there to help and guide people through to identify those collections. Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Yeah, great. Yeah. So again, this is the area where the service desk will be. As we proceed through the marketplace and kind of to the left, this is where the adult area of the library is going to be. So we'll have adult collections, some seating areas, as well as some public computers and technology here in this area. We also have adjacent to this space a tech lab, so that'll be kind of your traditional computer lab, but also a space that can be used for running computer classes, as well as a creation lab, which will be a very small space, but the ideas will be set up with sort of design, a design computer, things that for creating digital type materials. Also off of this space are 3 of our 4 planned study rooms. 3 small ones and 1 slightly larger room, but we do plan to have 4 study rooms in this building, private study rooms. As we go back to the sort of the marketplace area and we proceed further down, we get some additional seating areas. And again, if we go to the left, this corner over here, this is actually going to be our teen room. And so it's going to be an enclosed teen space that has also 1 dedicated study room in the corner here off of the teen space only. Teens will not necessarily be excluded from using the other rooms, but we did want to have 1 room that it really is dedicated for teens, and it's part of essentially their dedicated space. As we go back to the main marketplace area and we go across the way over here to the right, we'll see the portal that leads us to the children's room. What we've planned is for a large children's space, and if you look at it and consider the public sort of areas here of the library, really about half of the public space is dedicated for children and families, which, as we know, is a really, really high priority and important focal point for us. In addition to a lot of different, right-sized furniture and space for collections, as well as a play area, one of the things I'm also very excited about is this white space over here, which is actually going to be an enclosed outdoor patio that leads off of the children's room. So we'll be able to open the doors and provide a space where people can actually go outside, get some fresh air, but it will be enclosed, so it'll be secure. We won't have kids running, off, if they get out the doors and all that. So it'll be a safe and enclosed space, but really nice opportunity for people to be able to get their kids outside and in fresh air if they need it. Coming back to the entrance, so this is that's kind of the traditional library spaces for this building. As we go back to the entrance and we turn to the right, we're going to enter into, if we want to call it, the learning center portion of the building, right? The Lakewood Branch Library and Learning Center. And the Learning Center, we really are highlighted by a number of these various program and meeting spaces. So starting over here in this corner, this is actually going to be our maker lab or maker space. That's dedicated in space there. And then next to it is what we're calling the library program room. So this will be a program, this will be a space dedicated specifically for hosting library programs as we need. This wall here is actually, Shaughnessy alluded to it in the previous presentation, but this is actually something the Friends helped contribute to, and is actually a movable, partitionable wall, so that on the other side, this is what we're calling the community room. This space will be available for other types of, larger meetings. As you can see, it's a slightly larger space, and available after hours, which I'll talk about a little bit as well. But with the ability to move the partition, it actually gives us the opportunity to potentially expand and create a larger space of slightly over 2,000 square feet when you combine these two spaces together. Some other features of the community space are a kitchen, a small kitchen, and some storage facilities here on this side. There's also an outdoor patio area that will be accessible from this lobby area here. And then as we proceed to the north, actually this is to the south now because we're flipped. These two rooms are the school district rooms. So the first room on the bottom here is actually the room dedicated for the Fremont Union High School District as the high school programming room. And then there's also a movable partition here in this room, and on the other side of that is the elementary school program space. So these rooms will be, obviously like sort of first come, first serve for school district programs and programming. We'll have an agreement, a mechanism by that if, when they're not in use for school programs, they will be accessible for other community uses as well, and for potential library programs. So when you think about it, we have the opportunity, even in a small branch like this, to potentially run multiple simultaneous programs at a time of varying types and sizes, which, as we know, is something really, really valuable, something we struggle to do a little bit in the current main library, but we're really excited about the possibilities here with this space. Let's talk just a little bit about after-hours access also. And one of the things that we're planning and very excited about is an ability to expand the use of this building after the traditional library hours. And so one thing to focus on right here is actually what we're calling our holds room. So right now, if you come pick up holds at the main library, they're on a shelf next to the information desk. This room is where we'll actually store holds as they are, requested and put on there. This room will actually have a door to the exterior that will have a scanning system. So you can then scan your library card. It will verify that you have a hold to pick up. We'll unlock the door after hours, and somebody can go in, and then there will be actually a checkout machine in that room where they can then check their items out and then serve themselves even after hours. We're really excited about the extension of service. In addition, the Learning Center portion of the building will also have an exterior entrance and can be locked off from the rest of the sort of main library portion. So we'll be able to open the Learning Center portion potentially after hours for programs and community events that we'll host there. This will also extend our ability to offer library programs, but also those community events. Driving here. Okay, so I think through my little tour here, I've mentioned most of these points here, but I think just the thing to reiterate is that we really envision this as a hub for children, families, students, also an opportunity for outreach. In fact, one area I kind of forgot to point out, because it's kind of a staff area, is there is a section of this building for recreation activities and storage, so that we'll be able to sort of store some of those rec equipment that we'll use for summer camps, other programs running out of the park, but also other areas of North Sunnyvale as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the art we're expecting to see in the building and out of the building too. So this is actually the location of the exterior sculpture space. Let me move this mouse out. So this is the exterior forecourt as you approach the main library entrance through here. And this is the artist's conceptual rendering of what the art is going to look like. We selected Ride Art Studio to put up this installation called The Roots of Knowledge. And let me just pull up a little description of that artwork here. It's I want to make sure I cover all the details, so I'm just going to kind of read this here. The selected proposal for the exterior art location was submitted by Ride Art Studio of Berkeley, or Jonathan Russell and Saori Ide Russell. It consists of a sculptural design located in the exterior foyer. Titled Roots of Knowledge, the design celebrates the written word through quill sculptures standing in inkwells and places among a paving design mimicking pen strokes and containing brass leaves with etched words relating to learning, community, life, and 3 birds that will signify travel, life, and growth. The artists intend to hold a community workshop where the public can participate in contributing words in their native languages to be engraved on the leaves. Then proceeding into the library, this is the highlighted green space there is showing where the interior mural is going to be located. So again, thinking about entering the library, it would then be, as you enter that large open welcoming space, it would be on the wall to your right. As you can kind of see here, this is sort of a view of inside the main entrance of the library, and you see that white space to the right as part of where the mural would go. Here's a little bit of focus on that space. And then here is a conceptual design of what that mural would look like in space itself. The selected proposal for the interior art location was submitted by Santa Rosa-based artistic team Rough Edge Collective, or Maria Jose Lindo Lawyer and Joshua Lawyer. Their proposal is a hand-painted mural titled Lost in Thought. The imagery is a fanciful depiction of a teen intently reading a book, coming to life with each turn of the page, including a large sea dragon listening to the every word and asking, "Then what?" And then here's just some close-ups of what that design will look like with the teen reading and the seascape and the drawing and the dragon. Okay, another one of the highlights from last year was the groundbreaking celebration, which I'm happy many of you were there at. At that program, we were really happy to see a large group of very energized public attendees. We recognized planning, the planning that has come on from staff, our various vendors and partners. Some of the special guests included City Manager Tim Kirby. We also had representatives from State Senator Wahab's office here presenting a proclamation to the mayor and the superintendents of the districts. We also had Patrick Aarons was there in attendance, who was actually representing at the time Assemblymember Lowe's office. But of course, just a few months later, Patrick Aarons was elected to the assembly himself. So he was actually in attendance as well. So we had that representation. We also received a proclamation from County Supervisor and former Mayor Otto Lee. And of course, one of the highlights of that event was the chance for people to walk up into the dirt and grab those shovels and dig it. This is, of course, the current and former Board of Library Trustees members who had an opportunity for that photo op. Sorry, I know it's a little washed out in this slide here, but it was a bright sunny day, as you all recall, and a lot of fun for that event. Okay, and now we'll get into a section I think you're really excited to hear about, and that's the construction progress. So these are some highlights from our public works team on what's been sort of happening on the site most lately. Right now, underground utility work both on and off the site, that's like on the site itself, but also like the streets around the area on Lake Chime are nearing completion, and that gets, of course, the power and all those different utilities set up for us. Also work on the building footings and foundation are nearing completion. And that then provides the framework for us to start the framing of the building. And what we know is that when the framing occurs, that's when I'd say things get really exciting, because the framing happens and you actually start to really visually see a building start to come in play. And then it just starts filling in and in and in and in, and the next thing you know, you've got a building. And so we're just about poised to begin that really exciting phase of the construction that people are really going to be able to see and get excited about. Just sharing a few photos here of some of that work that's happening. This, of course, is some of that undergrounding work that happened on Lake Chime Drive. And then after it's sort of done and it gets filled in, and then the street is repaved. This is the on-site undergrounding work, utility. More detail of that work. And then eventually we get it filled in and then start to establish the foundation for where the branch will actually appear eventually. Super exciting. Right now, just imagine the possibilities, right? An open space, but all the possibilities of things that are going to happen on that spot. So some things that are upcoming for us. Obviously, we continue to work and monitor closely the progress with our public works team. Our IT department is also heavily involved at this phase now, getting prepared to bring in all the technology that's going to go into the building, as well as our other contractors and subcontractors. We're also engaged in finalizing our budget plans for what the operational budget's going to look like, and as well as the operational planning. Things like, what the hours are going to look like, how staff are going to be deployed, what some of the programs that actually are going to look like when we become open to the public, as well as some of those coordination pieces about how do we handle room reservations, coordination with the partners in those spaces as well. So a lot of those details to be worked out. We also plan to bring on some new dedicated staff for the branch. We're not just sort of diverting main library staff. This will be a new location, and so the staff will happen sort of in a graduated way as we approach the opening of that. And then of course the exciting planning for eventual grand opening. A big celebration, we hope. That'll be really fun and engaging for the community. We are still looking kind of at a late 2025, early 2026 completion of construction, and then the phases to move in and then open the building to the public shortly thereafter. And then as the dragon says, then what? So I'm open for questions.
Garrett, thank you so much. It's so exciting. Do any board members have any comments or questions for staff?
So, hearing about this is so wonderful, and it's clear that everyone involved has put in a lot of work. One thing that just a quick question off the top of my head was in terms of the artwork, was that selected by our arts commission?
It was a pretty robust process with a lot of different input. There was a committee formed of some of actually the design staff, members of the public, some city staff, and reviewed all the applications that came in, provided some sort of voting and recommendations. That then went into a presentation to the public, or to the Arts Commission. The Arts Commission reviewed and made their recommendations to the council, and then the council made a final selection based on all of those recommendations in total.
Great. Well, I love to hear that, and I also think that they did a wonderful job of picking art. I think it's nice, and it almost makes you think, gosh, can we have some of that in the main library? But maybe that's another conversation. Then the other thing was about, towards the end of the presentation, what you said, and I really liked, was that we're bringing on new staff. I think that's so important because as we're, bringing this new library online, well, specifically, right, what you said was we don't want to be diverting resources. And I think that's such a real, tremendously important focus to have, because we want to create a new space for our North Sunnyvale residents that haven't been served by our library in the past because of location, geography, et cetera. And, hearing that I think is really, really, really wonderful in terms of making sure that our library is supported the way it needs to be, and our North Sunnyvale residents are supported the way it needs to be. And then, just finally, this was a kind of like random question that popped into my head, and this just has to do with sort of the way that we access the library and all Sunnyvale residents access the library in regards to things like holds and programming. So like when you're checking out a book, when you're reserving a book, will you be selecting which library you want to pick it up at? Is that going to be something that you need to think about? And then, if it's like, say, actually, I do want to pick up my book later, can I have the option of, going by our North Sunnyvale branch library with this, after hours room? Because I think that would be so tremendous to have that opportunity.
Yeah, you brought up a couple points, and something that I'd like to add, just going back to the staffing thing, another really key part of having those staff is we recognize that this is a branch that's going to be in a neighborhood and really, really community focused. And I think those relationships with the branch staff and the branch librarians and the branch manager are going to be so valuable in fostering those community bonds and relationship. However, we also want some unity of experience. It is the Sunnyvale Public Library just now in 2 locations, not some totally different different planet type of service. And so while we will have a dedicated staff, we also envision that there will be sort of a regular rotation of main library staff and branch staff, kind of going vice versa between locations, so that we feel again a very sense of unity and continuity of the services and operations. So to your point, whether you use the main library only or Lakewood only or visit both, depending on your traffic patterns, you will feel like it really is one library in 2 locations. So then speaking on the point about holds and other things like that, the vision is that we will have regular deliveries between the locations. So we'll be able to flow materials. So when you look online, you will see, yes, I see which items are available at the main library, which items are available at the branch. When I place a hold, our system will balance out to make the most efficient choice of which material will actually be pulled to fulfill a hold. In some cases, in the case of Lakewood, if there is a Lakewood copy of that particular item, then that item would generally be tagged and pulled get right on the shelf within minutes, perhaps, right? If of course, because it's small, it's not going to have the same amount of items in the collection. So there's going to be many cases where the item you're looking for is not available on the shelf at Lakewood, and so we will then take an item from the main library's collection, send it to Lakewood branch, and tag it to be put on hold, and then you'll be able to pick it up there. And so residents, and cardholders will be able to your point, place holds in whatever location they think is most convenient for them and pick those items up.
That's great to hear. I really like the idea of the after hours hold section and just being able to get books delivered from the main library to the Lakewood Library. If folks, right, one of the things that I personally have felt about that area is, when you're not driving, it can be kind of inconvenient to get there. I biked to the actual groundbreaking. And it's like, wow, it's a little bit out of the way, and some of the and I can imagine they're feeling the same way as they're coming to our main library. And so, having the option to walk to your local library and, be out and about, I think is such a wonderful opportunity for our North Sunnyvale residents, and something that I'm glad that we've gotten to get with this. So I think that kind of does it for my questions. I'm really happy with this. Can't wait to see it finally be brought to fruition. I shouldn't really say finally, because in some ways I feel like it's happening faster and than expected and ahead of schedule, which is always really nice to see. So thank you guys.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I just question about the building. I don't know where. So when you come in and then to the we've had a lot of slides.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Let me get the better one. Yeah, there
Yeah.
we go.
So okay, I'll stand up. I don't know how. So is this area all staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I ignored. Yes, that's right. Of course, of course, you would be interested in that area. Yes. I skipped over that, but that is the staff area. One thing, actually, a really key feature that is in that space that I failed to mention, of course, is an automated materials handling system. It's small, it's right-sized for a branch of this, but it will serve the same purpose that the one at the main library does, which is as materials are returned, it will pre-sort them into certain sections, and that'll just speed up the process for staff of being able to get them back onto the shelf and available for the public quicker.
So in addition to the hold room, there'll also be the regular self-checkout machines and all that, the same as in the.
That's right. Yeah, the self-checks will be over there kind of in the entry area. So people will be able to check their items out there or in the hold room.
And then also, if I borrowed something from the main library, I can return it there.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so like you'll just have a,
That's right. Yeah, it'll all be, we're going to use all the same circulation systems, checkout systems at the main that we're going to use at the branch. And so again, that aspect of service should be very seamless. Again, that unity and continuity we're going for.
I think it's just like, you'll just have to be like if you're, like you said, if you put a hold on something and it's at the branch, it'll be able to go on the shelf like right away, but it might take 24 hours if it has to come from the other branch or, you know.
Exactly, yeah. And again, part of the operational planning is kind of figuring out what that delivery timing and schedule is going to look like. Part of the budgeting process is also looking at what kind of vehicle we're going to need to run that delivery.
As someone who works in a library that most of its collection lives in Livermore.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I know about
And
that.
remote storage, yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, I feel like see my nose. I'm not quite clear to me what the difference between the creation lab and the maker spaces. So
I'd say the makerspace you can think of maybe a little bit more like hands-on physical making.
like 3D printers.
3D printers, potentially, actually trying to see,
Sewing machines.
sewing machines, vinyl cutters, yeah.
Mhm.
So things like that. So kind of hands-on making of things. The creation lab is think of it more almost like maybe a digital creation lab, recording a podcast.
Oh,
It's not going to be like a soundproof, studio, but
But it'll have
potentially, potentially recording with some audio equipment, or doing some graphic design work on a computer in that space.
And then when we come to the school rooms, so like the room that is dedicated like to the Fremont Union High School district. So first of all, the district includes schools that are not in Sunnyvale. So I mean, we potentially will be getting kids from all over. I mean, Cupertino and they'll still be able to use the library as a library, right? I mean, they could still get library cards and still, that shouldn't be an issue, right? And
I mean, we don't limit library card
To just Sunnyvale
holding to just Sunnyvale residents.
Mhm.
So yes, even if there was a student who maybe lived in San Jose and went to Lynbrook High School,
Right.
of course they're going to be welcome, at the
Mhm.
library. I will say, and I don't want to put words into our partners' mouths around what they have planned for those spaces specifically, but I do know that one of the areas that the Fremont Union High School District is very excited about is the potential for expanding their adult education programs into North Sunnyvale. Right now, of course, they have a fabulous adult education
Right next to Fremont High
center
School.
at Fremont High School on that location. But as we know, the distance from North Sunnyvale to Fremont High School has its own sets of problems. And so this will actually provide an outlet for them to potentially, and again, with the after-hours access, be able to offer some of those night classes for adults in their program space.
But could it potentially also be like a school club could meet there after hours and would the students be able to book the space or is it something that would go through the school? Like the students book directly or you haven't sort of worked that out with the?
Yeah, again, we haven't finalized
partners?
exactly how the booking is going to work. I envision that because those spaces are sort of prioritized and dedicated for those partners, they'll be given some essentially leeway to internally decide how they want to manage that space, and then we will have it available as like a backup option. There'll be some threshold by which once they've released the room, then we could use it for a library program if necessary.
And just one more comment when back to staffing, I think, yeah, obviously we're going to need more staff staff a whole branch, but I think it's great that you plan on rotating because I think that's like you said, give that feel of connection that they're not just like, I don't know, like the stepchild who's like off in the distance, but actually really part and make it feel part of the community. And I think as a user and like, okay, I drive, so I don't have an issue like going down there. Actually, one of my son's best friends lives down the street. So I drive that route often. To be able to like access the after hours holds or like going to a program, I wouldn't think twice. Like there was a program that I found interesting. I would definitely like drive to Lakewood to go to it, so, but rather than like to San Jose or to somewhere else. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you raise a good point. In terms of how we envision some of that programming is going to look like, there will be some, quote unquote original programming for the branch, but also, I think at points we're going to sort of try to take advantage of, call it economies of scale, create once and execute twice, plan a program, run it at the main library, but then also run a companion program at Lakewood as well.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, as somebody who has actually spent the bulk of my career in libraries working in neighborhood branches, I can completely relate to some of the feelings you're talking about how it can feel to be remote, to feel like maybe you're a little bit of the stepchild. So I hope I can help bring that sensibilities, better sensibilities to this branch.
Sounds great.
Garrett, thanks for the phenomenal updates. Really exciting progress. I just had a question about the shared community room or the one with the
Partition?
divider, partition. Community programming. I'm not exactly as sure what that means. Can you help me visualize? Like, are there community programming examples at the main library that's relevant, or are there any top of minds for what type of community programming you'd like to see?
So I think one of the things I'd say about the current main library, I believe that there's a high interest in community groups that are not necessarily connected directly to the library in using the main library spaces. However, I'd say because of the limited nature of the space and the busyness of the main library, we're unable to accommodate most of those requests. A local club or a nonprofit organization who'd like to hold their a board meeting or something like that, or even a community event, for their group, would love to be able to use the library program room, but almost every night we've already got a library program, planned in there. So we're just not able to accommodate the request. Our hope is that this will help us be able to accommodate some of those kinds of requests. A local neighborhood group in the Lakewood area, our neighborhood associations, for example, would love to be able to, utilize a space. A lot of things have gone online, obviously, with COVID, but we know that there's a high interest in being able to gather people together in person. Oftentimes, the challenge is where can they go? Where can they go doesn't maybe require everybody to pay, buy coffee or, something like that. So I think that's something that we're going to be able to provide in that space, as well as really host a robust amount of library kind of co-sponsored programs. Right now, a lot of the things that actually do end up happening at the main library are a community group comes to us, says, we've got a really great idea, something we'd like to share with the community. Could we create a library program for this and then host it in the library program room? And that's often how we find a way to bridge that gap. So this is also going to provide that opportunity as well.
Got it. That's awesome to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. I had a question going back to the artists. You had mentioned for the outdoor art that the artists were going to conduct outreach for the words that were going to go on the leaves. Is there a plan on how how the outreach will be done? What's the word? How are we going to let people know that they can come to this workshop to have that input, and especially focused on hopefully neighborhoods in the South Sunnyvale? North Sunnyvale.
North Sunnyvale.
Oh, I want South Sunnyvale. Sorry, North Sunnyvale.
Yeah, I don't have a clear
North.
timeline or plan for exactly how that outreach or how that workshopping is going to be done. But you raise really good points about, I think there will be a high emphasis in how do we make sure that the localness of the branch is really reflected and the community is really reflected. I know that is a high priority and part of why the artist wants to engage in that in the first place. So it's not just their vision, but it really becomes a community art piece. So I believe that will be part of the process.
My concern is like we have flyers in the main library. And so we get people from the main library going to contribute. And it's it's not that it's not the same demographic, but you're not pulling, that's not why we're building the branch. So just something there. I'm just curious, do you know what material those feathers are made of? Are they just like a hard, because they could be
It's either copper or.
I said bronze. Was that in my notes? I might have mentioned it in my notes.
Are they going to be like
Let me check.
natural? Okay, whatever the natural.
Translucent in some way.
Okay, cool. And then looking at this floor plan, I'm intrigued by the dedicated teen space, which I think is something that is needed. They need their own space. I'm also intrigued by the fact that it's so enclosed. And knowing teens. Is there plans or is that built into the staffing of like having somebody rotate in just to, double check what's going on? Is there, like, you don't want dedicated staff in that area, but it also needs to be somewhat monitored. Like, I know there are issues and.
Yes,
libraries.
definitely, a plan of, staff flowing through the building, some, call it roving, as you will. I think one of the nice things, in smaller branches is an ability to move through the building, without being too far from anything. Being able to kind of keep a closer eye on different parts of the building while you're still some way connected to the information desk. So yes, the short answer is that yes, we will have regular, staff moving through the building. If anything, also just checking on seeing how people are doing, whether they need anything, and especially early on, everything's gonna be very new, right? And so I think there will be a lot of interest in engaging with staff to how does this work, or what's the deal with this thing, or this doesn't we don't have this at the main library, so what's going on here?
And then also I have poor spatial awareness. Can you give me a sense of like, when I look at the community space, like maybe the Fremont, so maybe just looking at like the Fremont Unified School District, their designated room, how does that compare in size to like the main program room we have in the main library? I'm just trying to get a sense of, because I can't visualize it.
Well, let's see. The partner spaces, each of those dedicated, the high school room and the elementary school room, are approximately 1,000 square feet each. So then the combined space with the wall down is about 2,000 square feet. And then the size of the program, I'll admit, I'm actually not so great at the spatial thing either.
It's about 2,500 square feet.
About 2,500 square feet
Yeah.
of the main
Maybe a little
library
more.
program room when it's opened. So.
So then like the new children's area, it's like 2/3 the size of the main library children's area?
It would be smaller than that because the children's room in the main library is about 6,000 square feet, I believe. Maybe a little bit more. And the entire library, well, the entire Lakewood Library here is about 20.
Okay.
So I would say that children's area is maybe also about 25, about 3,000 square feet.
Yeah, 20 to 3,000 square feet.
So like a little bit bigger than the program. Right?
Yes.
In the main. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. I just I love it, but I have such a hard time
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's
envisioning size.
yeah, it will be smaller, but I do think that, as I mentioned, with the children's room being almost half, I mean, when you take the marketplace, the adult teen area, the children's room itself is almost equivalent to those spaces combined, which again, I think is a reflection of what we know community needs are. We know at the main library, half, of our service and clientele is children and families. Yet, as we know, our children's dedicated space right now in the main library is undersized for that population. This is an attempt to right-size that.
Just a comment kind of going off the previous discussion about being able to go to either library. And I'm sure you've thought about this, but I'm curious if there's in my library account, I'll have a chance to set a default library, because the way when somebody's moving quickly,
Yes.
they don't necessarily check
Yes.
a library.
Yes.
And I could see myself sending things all over.
Yes. Yes.
All over the Mountain View.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the way our circulation system works, there is a way, of course, we don't utilize it now, but there is a feature in our software that enables us to identify a person's quote unquote home library. And then that would be selected as as the default delivery option or hold pickup location. It will be changeable, item by item. Some people do that, but some people won't. It is an interesting thing to consider how we kind of grandfather existing cardholders in. There may be, we may have to have a process where the first time after the branch is active, people are prompted to make a selection. That's again, one of those operational pieces we have yet to finalize, but it's on our to-do list.
And then I love seeing the construction because it means there's progress. But then I also looked at the photo with the road being torn up in front of Lakewood. And so I'm kind of curious, how is construction impacting the school and the neighborhood as a whole? Because we don't want to necessarily, we need the work to be done and we need it to happen quickly, but we also don't want to antagonize the neighborhood so they don't even it's that fine balance. So I'm curious, you don't have large noisy construction during the middle of the school day, but then isn't that when? So I'm just kind of curious how that's all balanced.
That's a great question. I can't answer that, from my personal experience. I haven't, spoken or heard from residents who have maybe had any complaints about how that is going. I do know our public works team, and, works with the contractors to consider, the location and work plan, and considers, neighborhood impact and impact to neighbors, highly, as they plan out the work for the project.
And then for the grand opening, obviously nothing's 100% done when the doors open. So the makerspace might not be operational, or the creation studio may not be 100% operational. What is the kind of minimum to determination of this is ready, we're opening? Materials are on the shelves, community rooms are available, but maybe not the makerspace. Or I'm curious if there is kind of a minimum to define grand opening readiness.
I don't think we're gonna open with everything ready to go.
Okay.
Ideally, unfortunately, could there be an issue that comes up? Of course, it can.
Mm-hmm.
But what we'll do is, as we get closer, we will see where we are in terms of construction, where we are with materials arriving. And then when the contractors will give us occupancy of the building, from there, we'll add on a couple of months for delivery of our opening day collection, making sure that's ready to go. Once you put it on the shelf, I guarantee you a week later, you're gonna be like, nah, be better if we did it this way. When I opened a new library once, we probably moved the collection 5 times. It is backbreaking, but you want it to be, looking at it on here is a lot different than looking at it when it's on the shelf. The same is going to be, we're going to put out, makerspace, printer, Cricut machine, a vacuum form, whatever, and then go, if this was on this side, it would be better. So we'll try and make all those tweaks, but we'll definitely leave us enough time for that to happen. But the goal of opening and saying, well, we'll open without the makerspace, if the creative lab isn't there, really isn't what we're striving to do. So I would say, I'll go on record as saying it'll be ready to go.
Great, thank you.
Garrett will make sure of it.
You go, Garrett.
I'm writing a note.
Garrett's a little quiet. And then my last question is, there's obviously a lot of work going on. Are you, from the library perspective and the coordination, are you, I'm assuming you're the primary contact. How much time is this taking away from you? And I'm just curious, and in general, for a project like this, it can be a full-time job just to manage this. And I'm just kind of curious because
it really ebbs and flows. So
Yes.
as the planning in terms of the design of the building, what we want to have, what we're trying to accomplish, that is a very heavy load and takes up a lot of time. Of course, that's over the course of months and months and months. Right now, it's, really in the hands of Public Works and the contractors. Garrett, he shows you some great pictures, but he's not out there, welding stuff and digging stuff up.
I'm not certified.
Yeah. So once we get closer now now we're starting on we're going to start selecting materials for the new library. So staff's going to be very involved with that. Then we'll need to start selecting the furniture, fixtures, and equipment for that. That's going to take time. I would say from the minute we can get in that door for those 2 months or 2.5 months or whatever it is before we open, that is going to be like the crazy work weeks, where all your focus is on that. Because you really do want it, we're investing a lot of money, a lot of time in this project. And, our goal is that it's going to be hugely amazing from the day we open. So it really is going to be that push at the end. It's always at the end.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments?
Actually, to that part, or like, I mean, just even shelving a whole new collection is a lot of work. Is that kind of thing where like you would want like volunteers, like the friends or us, or or is that the kind of thing where you like you only want the professional staff because you want it done in a certain way and make sure it's they know the alphabet and
Getting everything off the truck, getting it loaded, getting it basically in a kind of an area where it's going to end up, that's a great job for anyone who wants to come out and volunteer. When it comes to where everything specifically ends up, that staff's going to be moving those around to make sure it works out the best.
However, we are trying to be wise and strategic about how we approach that. So, for example, one of the elements of the contracts we have with the vendors who are providing our opening day collection is in the process of processing and preparing those items, an organization on their end to send us boxes with labeling and that are actually arranged on pallets in certain ways to be very efficient in how they're then offloaded into the building and to which areas. They're familiar with how we're sort of breaking down which collection is going to go in which space. It's almost like when you're moving house, right? And you say, this is for this room and this is for this other room. So we're already building some efficiencies at this far out. And to speak to Michelle's point about how we the work ebbs and flows, our technical services team, who is kind of in charge of setting up the systems that are going to be used for these going forward, they had 2 weeks ago, they had like 3 full days of meetings with the vendors to establish the systems and processes, a very front-loaded intensive work, but once it's done, it really, makes things smooth going forward the rest of the way. So again, yes, it was a full-time job for a week for one of my teams, but then, then it changes as the work goes along.
And then, of course, as you hire more staff that will be dedicated branch staff, they'll be like onboarding before the branch opens.
That's right. Yeah, to familiarize themselves with what's going to be going on so they're ready to hit the ground on day one. Some of the work that can be done before will happen as well. But also, I've never been part of a building opening where it wasn't like all hands on deck for a weekend or, a couple of weeks and diverting a lot of staff to help out with those different projects. So I expect that we'll have some of the same here.
Sounds great.
You can tell we're excited because we're asking nitpicky questions for something
That's right.
happening like 10 months from now, but it's because we're excited.
That's
So
right.
thank you so much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
And I had the answer as far as the artwork, if you go back to the exterior photo. So the quills are actually 14-foot tall stainless steel, polished and buffed and all of that. And then the leaves in the ground are brass. So kind of just from a final design standpoint. So it should be interesting. And I think there's colored lights. What you're seeing there are the colored lights at night that will shine up onto them. So it'll be an interesting approach in the evening. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Garrett. We appreciate it. Thank you for nitpicking. No, so we will now, we'll move on to oral communications. This is now the public's opportunity to address the board on topics not listed on tonight's agenda and presentation items. This section is limited to 15 minutes and may be extended or continued after the public hearing general business section of the meeting. Individuals may only speak once during oral communications. This board meeting is a limited public forum and the board can regulate the time, place, and manner of speech. Speaker comments during oral communications must be limited to matters within the board's authority, which is known as the board's subject matter jurisdiction. If a speaker's comments are outside the board's subject matter jurisdiction, the presiding officer will rule the speaker out of order. This allows the board to conduct its business in a reasonably efficient manner and protects the rights of other speakers. A speaker will not be ruled out of order because of disagreement with the content of their speech. Please submit a speaker card to the recording officer, raise your digital hand now, or dial *9 on a telephone to indicate you wish to speak. I will call on members of the public participating in person first, followed by remote participants. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak.
We have no members of the public either in person or online wishing to speak at this time.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the consent calendar. I will go ahead and open public comment on consent calendar items. Please submit a speaker card to the recording officer, raise your digital hand now, or dial *9 on a telephone to indicate you wish to speak. I will call on members of the public participating in person first, followed by remote participants. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak.
We have no members of the public wishing to speak at this time.
Thank you. So I'll close public comment and I will now ask for a motion from my colleagues to approve the consent calendar item to approve the Board of Library Trustees meeting minutes of February 3rd, 2025.
I move to approve the board minutes from February.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second. Do I have to say the whole thing?
Is there discussion or advocacy on the motion? No. A recording officer, please conduct a roll call vote.
Chair Wang,
Yes.
Board Member Hugh,
Yes.
Board Member Hod,
Yes.
Board Member Liu.
Yes.
The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. So the next portion of the agenda is for oral reports and announcements by board members and staff to share information. Do board members have any non-agenda items or comments?
I have a comment. So, I didn't make it last month to the meeting because I wasn't feeling well, but I did go online. And when there's somebody giving a presentation, you see their presentation and you see us, the board members. You don't see the person presenting. Is there a way to change that?
Not at this time because there's no cameras on the other side of the room yet, but I know they are working on that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to welcome our new board member, Board Member Leo. So welcome. We're happy to have you and have a full board again. And then one other just kind of comment is I attended this weekend a program at the library, kind of a last minute thing, was emergency preparedness class. And I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but it was fabulous. And I learned so much and I would encourage everybody, and I assume everybody in the library knows everything that's going on, but it was, I grew up in California where we grew up with earthquakes and earthquake kits and all of that. And so I went in thinking this is going to be more of kind of the same, and it wasn't. And I learned so much, and it was run by the Sunnyvale Center for Emergency Response.
CERT.
CERT,
Yep.
but they have a volunteer arm of like folks who are doing it. And it was just really, really valuable in so many ways. So I have a whole checklist of things and I want to encourage everyone to go do this because it's so valuable. Not just knowing what to do in your own home, but when you're out in public or you're out in general. I feel like it's something everyone should know. And so thank you to the library for hosting that. I thought it was great. Host it again.
Yeah.
April 4th, they have another
Lakewood.
session. Lakewood. Yeah. So thank-
And on that, they will actually be at the Earth Day event. So I'm pretty sure they have a table at the Earth Day event on April 5th. So we'll be having Earth Day here from 11 to 2. Well, my memory's good. So on Saturday, April 5th, Earth Day will be here, but they'll have a table here for those that are interested in learning more about the 8-week CERT program or a PEP class, the 2-hour class.
I know, I was actually considering doing the longer program. I was so inspired, but it's really long. Thank you. So does staff have any non-agenda items or comments? Oh, board member Lou, sorry.
Oh, no, I just wanted to thank everyone for the warm welcome and really look forward to continuing to work with both the board members and staff.
Yes, as a reminder, we are right in the thick of all of the Silicon Valley Reads programming. We've had some fabulous programs and discussions on the books, which, as you recall, have to do with AI, the intersection of technology and humanity. This is really, really interesting stuff. But there's a couple programs. If you haven't visited us yet for one of these programs, there's still some exciting opportunities, including this Wednesday, an introduction to artificial intelligence with specialists from the Sunnyvale School District, our partners we've been talking really excitedly about. They're going to be leading a discussion on artificial intelligence, and we're excited about the discussion. That is an adult program or adult-focused program. And then, of course, we have a couple programs for kids and teens coming up, including the Create a Robot program, and if you recall from last month, the Build a Robot Hand, which we actually had the demonstration of, that one is coming up on Thursday, March 20th, so we'll look forward to that as well. And then for teens, we're excited about the comics workshop with one of the Silicon Valley Reads authors, Wendy Shu, is actually going to be talking about her book, The Infinity Particle, and giving a workshop on how to actually make a comic. So we'll look forward to seeing you for the remainder of our Silicon Valley Reads programs.
Thank you. So with that, this meeting is adjourned at 8:19 p.m. and I'd like to thank everyone for your participation in tonight's meeting.